you like to put that in context at all?
Sure. I mean, I do think. I mean, you asked if this is a racist state, and I didn't want to make that characterization, but I do think, there are some voters in some parts of the state that are not going to be willing to vote for Latino candidates, and I don't. If you want to call that racist, I won't take issue with it.
Have there been any type of historical incidents that might have made the news in New Colorado, racially charged violence, work disruptions, anything like that?
Yeah, well, I think there have been. I'm struggling to remember specifics, but certainly, we've had occasional incidents where, migrant workers get beat up by a gang of kids, right? That's happened. I think there was an incident around 2007 where that happened. And there have been some before, which I don't really have any specific recollection of. So
occasional racial violence.
Occasional, but yeah, it's not something that's frequent, but it does happen from time to time. There are tensions, as there tend to be in any state with a substantial immigrant population. And then you'll get some rogue sheriff every once in a while who decides that he's going to make it his business to conduct a lot of immigration raids, which may or may not be grounded in probable cause or reasonable suspicion of any illegal activity. So you'll see that from time to time.
Moving on to another point real fast. Can you recall ever having told any of your constituents that the redistricting process forced the Democrats to quote-unquote spread out Latino votes because they're reliable votes and because you wanted to maximize partisan advantage?
No.
No? Well, there's a line also that I'd just kind of like you to clarify for me in the affidavit. 15, same affidavit A, that says Latino voters were distributed by the bill for the purpose of favoring Democratic candidates. What do you mean by that?
Well, our ultimate goal, as I said before, was to favor Democratic candidates, and to be more specific by that, to ensure that we had 3 congressional districts that were majority Democratic.
So would you say it's correct that just the ethnic makeup of the state forced the redistricting committee to make a choice between leaving every cohesive, or leaving, I should say, very cohesive Latino communities together, or not having as many Democratic districts? Was that the kind of situation you were put in?
Well, I don't know that I would put it exactly that way, if I understand your question correctly. I think, there was no way, as far as I'm aware, based on the modeling we did, of having 3 districts where we could be reasonably confident of a Democrat getting elected to office, while at the same time having 1 district that was majority Latino.
And
if you want to follow up, and then we'll move on.
Okay. I guess the way I'll phrase it is, would you say it's accurate that in order to maximize Democratic influence in this redistricting plan, you were forced to consider race in any way?
Well, we certainly considered race in the context of making sure that our obligations under the Voting Rights Act were satisfied. So yeah, I acknowledge that we took race into consideration, and we thought we came up with a plan that serves the interests of Latinos by ensuring that at least 3 people from the state are going to be Democrats who Latinos overwhelmingly support in our state. I think it's something like 80, 85%, something in that neighborhood. Let me go to you.
Earlier you mentioned that part of your consideration in adopting plans was not to violate the Voting Rights Act. So how many experts did you consult in that process?
What do you mean by experts?
An outside, somebody coming in to look at your plan to make sure it didn't violate Section 5.
Outsiders, no.
So did you have any inside experts?
Well, yeah, I mean, I know something about the Voting Rights Act. I'm not going to be too immodest and call myself an expert, but so I was able to read some of the cases. And then Neil Albrecht from my staff is also a lawyer. He's very knowledgeable with respect to voting rights law, and he sure became an expert over the course of this process and helping me figure this out. And we were the two people who pretty much, did all the modeling and the work in terms of figuring out how to reconcile these competing goals that I mentioned earlier, competing legal imperatives.
Okay.
I just want to point out to you, I believe you did have a meeting with Maldef and Lulock.
Yeah, I did.
Do you know who were present during the meeting?
I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact names of the representatives from those organizations.
Did anyone take notes during the meeting?
I didn't. I don't know whether anyone else did.
How would you characterize the meeting? Was it satisfactory for both parties?
Well, I can't say what they thought about it, but I was satisfied. I mean, I wanted to hear what their concerns were, and I feel like I succeeded in doing so.
What were their concerns?
Well, they wanted to ensure that there was adequate opportunities for Latinos to participate in the process, and that the requirements of the Voting Rights Act were satisfied.
Do you know if they specifically asked for a district that would that would elect one of the Latino preferred candidates? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair characterization of what at least one of the things they wanted, right? They wanted a district from which a Latino preferred candidate could get elected.
do you know how much did you consider their views?
I consider them a lot. I think that we were very sensitive to the concerns of the Latino community, and we wanted to make sure that we drew districts in which Latinos would be fairly representative, and I believe that we've accomplished that objective.
Okay. Do you know how they reacted when the final district plan didn't include one?
Well, I think some Latino advocates were okay with it. Certainly members of our constituency who are Latinos, and there are 7 of them, 2 in the Senate, 2 in the House, State House. They were satisfied with the districts. They voted for the plans. All of them are Democrats. All of them supported them. So I'm sure there were some people who didn't like the plans, but you're never going to make everybody completely happy. And in politics, sometimes, at the end of the day, if everybody is just a little bit unhappy, that's about the best you can do.
Did you have any other meetings afterwards?
I had lots of meetings.
No, specifically with Maldef and Lulock.
I don't recall ever meeting with them on this issue after that.
Did they ask for any other meetings subsequently?
They may have.
Do you know the reason why there were no other meetings afterwards? If they did?
I couldn't say for sure.
Okay, and then I guess with the redistricting plan,
I'm a busy guy, I can say that. So it's possible they asked for a meeting, but I don't have any specific recollection of it.
With the redistricting plan, you mentioned that you used several criteria, including compactness and contiguity.
I think I mentioned that the software can do that, and we
Okay.
played around with various ways of drawing districts.
Did you take into account natural or artificial boundaries when it comes to redistricting?
I think we took into account communities of interest. We didn't really pay any attention to municipal or county boundaries, if that's what you mean, because I don't think those are independently significant. But other people may have a different view, but we didn't give any weight to that.
Do you have any, do you know who the people are who didn't approve of the plan? Including the people in...
Well, I know none of the Republicans approved of the plan, but I didn't expect
Were there
them
any
to.
Democrats who didn't approve of the plan?
I believe they all voted for it, yeah.
Were you aware that Bob Kraft and Rhonda, both Democrats, disapproved of the plan?
Well, my recollection is they both, at the end of the day, voted for it. So, they may well have had other ideas about how they wanted the districts drawn. It may not be their ideal plan, but at the end of the day, I believe they both voted for it. That's my recollection, at least.
Do you know why they agreed to the plan?
You'd have to ask them. Okay, I'm going to go to Alejandro. Good line of question.
Just to clarify, what do you mean communities of